listen, never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Getting on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
All right, there's nobody I'd rather be talking to on the planet right now than JJ. Thank you so much, and congratulations with everything.
Yeah.
And you go through this year, and it's always best laid plans, and you always have to adjust. But to think back to sort of how you went into the off season and how it unfolded, what has been surprising, what hasn't? I know it's a big question.
Yeah.
But what hasn't been surprising?
Well, I don't think it's been surprising our starting pitching's been good. I think it's maybe a little bit more surprising of how good it's actually been. It's a complete turnaround from last year. This year, obviously led by Seth and Cole and Michael Wacha. They were tremendous, but Brady Singer did a tremendous job. Alec Marsh did a tremendous job. So, really, really happy with how well they've pitched. And then I think as you go through the ups and downs of these seasons, the bullpen hasn't been a strength all year long, and now all of a sudden here in the last month, it's come together pretty well, and a lot of guys have stepped up and put us in a pretty good position right now.
Well, I would start with the starting rotation because obviously you get Wacha, you get Lugo, and it was one of these things where you identified these are the guys that we want to prioritize. These are the guys we like.
Yeah.
These are their fits because you can go on all ends of the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
But we know that these guys, we see something in them and they're going to fit. Is that sort of how you planned it out? Or?
Well, yeah. I mean, one thing we wanted to capture is guys that could give us at least 170, 75 innings, which looking at the last several years of Michael's career, it's been about 130. But then with Seth, we thought starting last year, there was a chance he could take a jump and get to that 175, 180 mark, and clearly he's exceeded that by quite a bit. But I think once we signed Seth, it made even more sense to try to go get Michael now because that would round out our rotation. We felt like Brady could take on more innings. We thought Alec Marsh could take on more innings. Daniel Lynch was in competition for that fifth spot that Alec won in spring training, but Daniel's bounced back. It's now a big part of our bullpen. But between those two starters, we thought the combination of the two was going to be the difference. Again, it's worked out better than anticipated. And the big thing is, and we can never take this for granted, we've been healthy all year long with our starters, and that's really been a big part of any success that we've had, that we've been able to count on those guys every fifth day, outside of a couple minor things. Batted balls. I mean, we lost two guys, Wacha and Alec Marsh, because of batted balls, and they only missed a couple starts and bounced right back.
Yeah. Well, the innings thing is fascinating because we had Zach Gallen on, and obviously he goes 240 plus.
Yeah.
And he said, listen, you just plan as best you can. And Kyle Snyder came on the other day, said the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
With Lugo, I just think games played and innings pitched are such an underrated stat.
Yeah.
For you, what is the thing that you realize, okay, he's going to be able to handle this not only in the regular season, but as we sit here going through the postseason.
Well, he's the one who convinced us of it because
really?
he came in with the mindset that I'm going to pitch 200 innings, and just having been around Zach Greinke for a number of years, Zach's the one who told me if a pitcher has a goal of 220, don't take him off that goal because their whole mindset from the offseason has been to reach that goal. And with Seth, it was 200. So even late in the year, Zach happened to be in town, and we were talking about it again. And Zach said, I wouldn't change anything. He said he wants to pitch 200 innings. You let him pitch his 200 innings, and that's ultimately what happened.
And then you talk about the bullpen. I was in Fort Myers when you made the trade for John Schreiber, which is a case where we see so many bullpens. We'll piece it together and we'll.
Yeah.
But Schreiber was sort of like a fairly known quantity, so that's what was the mindset behind that, I guess.
Yeah, going into spring training, we were looking at our bullpen and we thought we were short on experience. And really depth, and with the way John pitches, you can call him a situational righty if you want. Having pitched in Boston and pitched in high leverage situations just because of the nature of the American League East.
Johnny Leverage. Let's go. Yeah.
And he just made a ton of sense for us. So And that was early in spring training when you get our pro staff together and we start talking about our bullpen. We thought we were one piece short to have a quality bullpen to start the year, and John's been outstanding. He's been great for us. He's been a leader down there. He lightens the clubhouse up. There's a lot of things that he brings other than just what he does on the mound as well.
That must be a hard trade to make, though. I mean, because again, the bullpen, relievers are so volatile. You do have a guy who, he was really, really good. He had a little bit of a physical thing last year, and then you're giving up a guy that you just don't know because he's so young. For an executive, that must be one of the hardest ones, right?
Well, what it came down to was we had pushed hard in the offseason. We kind of, made our roster over. We had a lot of new faces. So when you get to that point, you're thinking, well, why stop there? If we feel like we're short in the bullpen, it's going to hurt. And David Sandlin's a guy we thought very highly of. So not everybody's in favor of making those trades, but ultimately we thought, let's do this now and try to get ahead of it rather than chase it when we get to the deadline. And again, glad we made it.
You talk about getting everyone together and having great opinions, which is another awesome part about being. And our mutual friend Dayton Moore gave me the great analogy. He probably said it to you last year at Texas, where Chris Young got everybody in the room. Do you know the story?
No, I don't.
Okay, so he gets everyone in the room right before the deadline and said, okay, who thinks we can win the World Series or make the World Series? Because if we are, we're going to have to get really uncomfortable with these names.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do something like that, but I love that story because it just says, okay, if we believe it, let's go.
Well, we had a similar experience back in 2011, the winter meetings of 11 going to 12 and 13, when we were trading for James Shields and Wade Davis. I distinctly remember the meeting. We had all the names written up on the board, all of our prospects. Our farm system was in great shape, and Dayton started saying, hey, take this name off, take this name off. Do we still have a good farm system? And ultimately it was like, yeah, we do. He said, then what are we afraid of? We're going to make this trade. And you got to have conviction like that. And ultimately, we're in this to win ball games. I mean, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to win games. And if giving up a prospect is what it takes, it's going to hurt a little bit because you always think so highly of those guys and you're thinking about the future. But when you're in the moment and you want to win now, you're going to have to make moves like that. It's just not comfortable to make them.
So what was it like at the deadline? Congratulations, because I think that this is the pieces you had were so – a lot of times we get obsessed over grading deadlines and everything, but your pieces seem to fit really well. And I'll start with Erceg. Yeah. Erceg is a guy who I was just talking to Schreiber about this. He's like, I didn't know him. Yeah. And then I see him pitch. I'm like, oh.
Oh, yeah.
Did you understand? Well, I guess, when was the first time you sort of said, this guy might be a guy that we want to get?
Early in the year, we had a couple of our scouts in front office identify him. When you start thinking about the future and getting guys with control, he was really the only guy. Him and Miller out there are the two guys that are, you've got him for another 5 or 6 years. But how do you get them? Who's available? Are they going to be available? And that's why it's hard to make a trade like that. But then we also got a chance to see Lucas pitch twice against us when we were in Oakland. And you're looking at it, where's our weakness in our bullpen? Our weakness was we didn't have a lot of power. We weren't striking guys out. And Lucas would have to grow into being a closer. We made the move for Hunter Harvard right before we got Lucas. But we thought between the two of them, something's going to shake out. And philosophically, what we're trying to do at the deadline is help this team, but we were trying to stay away from Reynolds this year. If we were going to give up prospects, we wanted somebody that had at least 2 years of control this year and next. And Lucas obviously has, I think he's through 29. Now what he's done has been phenomenal. He's brought an attitude and a swagger to that bullpen that we were missing for a majority of the year. Again, another difficult trade to make because we gave up a couple prospects in that deal we thought highly of, but if we were going to get them, that was what it was going to cost. So you get to that breaking point where, guys, this is who we're giving up, and whether we all agree or not, it doesn't matter at this moment because if we want Lucas Erceg, this is what we need to do.
This isn't a question I would ask you unless he was really, really good. Is this good? Is he even better than you even thought?
He's when we had Hunter first, our thought was Lucas would probably throw the 8th inning, and then Hunter would come in the 9th. And obviously Hunter's had some health issues with his back and hasn't been able to perform for us. But Lucas adapted to that role pretty quickly. And now, you see in the games against Baltimore, the emotion comes out.
Yeah, you don't know how they're going to handle it either, right?
You don't. But now at this point, he is legitimate a closer, and he's got secondary pitches that can, that works against righties, works against lefties. So he's a weapon down there.
You know, we had Hosmer on today, and we were going through. First of all, he said it's like you guys are in communication, which is good for you.
Yeah.
Like, obviously a passionate guy about Kansas City and baseball. But I said, okay, here's the trivia question, Eric. When you closed it out in the World Series 2015, who were the guys that pitched for you? And in the relievers, Hoshaver, Davis, and oh my goodness, now I'm forgetting the other. Herrera.
Yeah.
That was the other one.
Yeah.
But there's the example. All those guys, man,
they were phenomenal.
You didn't have to worry about them.
No. In 14, it was Herrera, Holland, Davis, and then in 15 it was Hochevar, Herrera, Davis. But we really played those games to be ahead after 6, because if we were ahead after 6, there was a high likelihood we were going to win the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning.
Yeah, and the last thing is Tommy Pham is I saw him, all you do is win, right? I remember seeing him at the Diamondbacks last year, right? And the MO with Tommy is you want attitude, you want winning, but it has to be the right fit.
Oh yeah.
So talk a little bit about that acquisition and what he's meant.
Yeah, well, one of the first guys I heard from when we got Tommy was Haas.
Yeah.
Haas said, "I love Tommy Pham, great teammate." Then you walk in the clubhouse and Michael Walker's saying the same things. Now, we had done enough research to know that was the case. But Tommy likes to compete. He likes to win. We got a chance to see him with Chicago right before the trade deadline, and he was a player we wanted to add some of that winning attitude and get a little edge if we could, and we thought he would bring that to the clubhouse, which he did. And then we saw him when he was with St. Louis as well. And he'll tell you he thought he was a great fit for us. And the first thing he said to me is, "What took you so long to get me?" So, which I love.
Yeah.
Tommy's an approachable guy. Really proud of him the other night. He wasn't in the starting lineup, but he was into the game. He just wants to win, and you need some of that, because the guys that have done it can tell you how special it is.
Can I ask you, what did you learn from those runs in 14-15?
It's really hard to win.
Yeah.
I learned that. You try to replicate it, but dominating bullpens, really play when you're in October. That really plays well. Mm-hmm. But more than anything, and I think every team that wins championships will tell you this, the camaraderie and the feel of that clubhouse is as impactful as anything else. Mm-hmm. And this group, this 24 group, they have been lock and step from the first day of spring training. All they've talked about is getting to the playoffs and winning in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So it's a pretty special clubhouse, or fun group to be around. But when I think about 14 and 15, that group, even though it was built a little bit differently, that group was pretty special to watch them grow into becoming champions. But it had a lot to do with the team feel that we had during that run.
Awesome.